makes the flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give it a try. He's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't make a move without him. I won't be without him. He's awesome.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Z and Bar Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and thank you for joining me for another episode of EntrepreKNEWWHAT. You know, every Tuesday of every month, we highlight an entrepreneur for the month. We put the spotlight on them. We put the spotlight on their business. We get to know how they got started, their future goals, what was the process like. And today is no different from every other Tuesday. We have a special guest, my dear friend, Marlon Bush. Welcome, Marlon. Thank you for joining me today. You know what? I'm excited. I know I say this on every episode, but I am excited because me and Marlon have a special relationship. We always at each other's throat. So for him to sit here and we're doing something serious, you know, we're going to try to be serious this episode. But Marlon, tell me about your company. We want to know what it is that you do.
So I own well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciative to be a part of this. I own a marketing, advertising, PR firm. Mm-hmm. So we do videography, photography, graphic design, web design, social media management, and then production.
Okay, what's the name of your company?
Forward Solutions Enterprise.
Say it again. It sounds important, don't it?
It's Forward Solutions Enterprise.
So Marlon, tell me about your background in getting into marketing, you know, owning your own company.
So I've been in the business for about, I've been in the industry for about 20 years now.
Wow.
I worked for a marketing firm for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. In 2008, I was laid off.
Okay.
Now, I have no degree doing what I do, all experience, all God. And 2008, started my business with my best friend, Mike, who pushed me out into like, yo, you really got a skill.
Right.
Did that 2008 and been doing it since then.
Wow. Okay. So I ask this question to all my entrepreneurs because we know that we typically become a product of our surroundings. And I know you grew up in a church family. We Kojic babies. But did you see other marketing, you know, people in your family? Was entrepreneurship really pressed? Are you really a product of your surroundings?
So what's interesting about that is that my dad, when he was 12, 13 years old, we showed an interest in graphic design. Actually, my twin brother was my first business partner.
Okay.
So in high school, we started a business called M&M Graphic Communications. And my dad, he was a natural promoter. He was a pastor. He knew how to, like promote anything. Anything that was going on, a conference, something big that was taking place. But he always had us around him. Mm-hmm. And then, so when we were 13, 14 years old, we showed interest in graphic design. And my dad bought us computers, bought us software to design. And then we actually started designing material for conferences and other pastors and even our school, like teachers and things. And so, did that, was passionate about it. I think that the thing was that my dad believed in us. Our parents saw our gifts and gave us the equipment to do what it is that we had to do. So, of course, when I graduated from high school, I got into other things, got into law enforcement. But it was so crazy how, like, all those years went by, I ended up back into where I started.
So did it come naturally for you, or did you have to, well, you were self-taught when it comes to marketing?
I'm self-taught. I started reading my own, YouTube would teach you a lot of stuff. But I was actually doing this before YouTube really was like the big thing. I was reading books, learning from the people that I was working with, finding out how, there were certain things that was consistent. So learning the ins and outs of the business helped me become better and then create my own model for the business.
Got you. So you said in 2008 you were laid off, right? What was that process like? Was that your aha moment where you said, okay, I got laid off, this is my opportunity to really dive in and do what I love?
Yeah, no. I actually, when I got laid off, I remember going home, getting in the bed, crying my eyes out, and I did. I started actually putting my application out, filling out job applications, trying to get back into the field, and no one was hiring me.
Nobody.
No one was hiring me, and they wasn't even looking at my skills. It was just the fact that I didn't have a degree.
Right.
And what's crazy is that when a lot of these companies go to Indeed, or I forgot what that Monster
Career Builder.
Yeah, those programs are built where a company can say, I'm looking for this, and this. And if one component of those things is not there, my resume doesn't even come up.
Right.
And so I had to go back into entry-level jobs. And so I'm like, I don't want to do warehouse. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But from where I came from, that wasn't what I wanted to get back into. And it was my best friend and his mother pushing me, saying, yo, you could do this on your own.
Right.
And at those times when I think about it, Zanya, I think about how that it took other people believing in me when I didn't believe in myself.
And that matters.
Yeah.
That matters.
Absolutely.
And I say that because sometimes they can push things out of you. And you second guess yourself, or you don't even think to look that direction.
Right.
Like you getting laid off and you saying now you're finding yourself going back into entry level jobs. It didn't even cross your mind, and you need people who can push you, who can say, hey Marlon, stop looking over there. Shift your focus right here. And that really pushes us all. It really does. So our surroundings does help, right?
Absolutely.
We all need a village.
Absolutely.
We all need a village. Now you're transitioning. I'm going step by step.
Okay.
You're transitioning into, your own company. You're listening to your best friend, their mom. They're saying, Marlon, this is it. Now, tell me the step-by-step process that went on with that. Because there are some people that's watching, and they're saying, okay, I'm right there right now. I'm in a warehouse.
Yeah.
I'm back in an entry-level job. I just got fired, especially right now during a pandemic. A lot of people are being laid off from their jobs.
Absolutely.
They need to know, okay, what steps can I take to get to where you are now?
So when I talk about entrepreneurship and starting my own business, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I still had to get a full-time job.
Right.
I couldn't just go and just open up a business, but I had to hustle.
Come on.
Hustling mean I would work a 9 to 5, and then the 5 to 9 was my business.
Right.
So it was sacrificing time. So I was working night. At FedEx office actually. I was working overnights, and then in the morning time I would go home, get about 2 or 3 hours of sleep in, and then I was back up working on the business.
Right.
Making sure that I was doing something that was pushing the business, making money for the business, and then going back to sleep for about another 2-3 hours and going back into work. I think the thing is that when I think about entrepreneurship, I think about the passion is what drives you to go through.
That's it.
If I wasn't passionate about it, I wouldn't work hard and sacrifice other things. Like I had to sacrifice friends and engagements and parties and all of those stuff because everything that I was making was going back into the business. So my full-time job was keeping my regular stuff going. Or my part-time job or my business, my business had to be the thing that I had to take that money and put it back into it, buy more equipment, and being consistent with it.
You know what? And that matters that you said that, because I say this all the time. People have the misconception that when I start my business, I have to quit everything. And then they try to figure out how am I going to fund it? How do I get a team? And I often tell people, sometimes you start with yourself. You are your team. You wear all the hats. You're making all decisions. You're the assistant. You're the marketing. You're PR. You're everything to yourself.
Everything.
Right. So was it what you expected? Like, did you have a vision in mind when you got started? And then, once you got rolling and working your job and putting all the time into it, was it what you expected?
I think that when I think about entrepreneurship, I did expect. I expected to go through. I think that sometimes the misconception is that as soon as you step out, you know, everything's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be laid like streets and road, and it's not. But I had someone that modeled what I was going after.
Good.
I saw my father start a ministry from scratch. Like, he started his ministry in our house.
Right.
Like, we saw him go work a full-time job, come back home. So now, like, you know, us having been PKs and everything, I'll take great offense when people say all the pastor's doing is taking money. No.
You've seen it, right.
So when I saw that all that my father went through and all the sacrifices, I think I was already prepared to make those same sacrifices. Because when I think about starting a ministry and starting a business, they kind of start the same way.
Right, they do.
It starts with knowing that you was called to do something. You were called to the business that you're wanting to do. And it's now God is saying, are you going to put the time in?
Right.
Yeah. So I was prepared for it.
And you know what? It takes a great deal of faith. It takes a great deal of faith. I spoke to another entrepreneur and she said, I just kept moving. And that hit me, you know, personally, because when I moved to Atlanta, you know, uncertainty was everywhere. And I was like, okay, Lord, you tell me to go, but the finances ain't right here, and I don't know about this, and this door is in front of me, and now I have to take care of that. And the Lord was telling me, Zanya, if you just keep moving, I'm going to keep putting a step in front of you. Yeah. And I said the perfect opportunity for God to show himself is when you don't have nothing in front of you. Ooh. Every door is closed, every road is blocked, people are leaving, you know, the finances are nowhere, and then he makes things appear so he can get the glory. Yeah. And I think that's very important that you said that, because some people feel like they have to start at a certain level, you know, with certain people. They don't understand what's going on in the background.
Absolutely. And then one thing that I had to quickly learn is some things are not working out because God's preparing you to be able to take it. Okay. And that was one of the biggest things. I remember when I first started my business, I just knew certain people were going to be my client. You know, like I was automatically going to get them. They were going to come in. And I remember I used to actually go, like, you know, I thought I was marketing.
Right.
But then I also had an entitlement spirit where I felt like because of who I am that they should, you know, be my client. And then God told me to stop going. He said that, you prepare yourself, I'll bring you the business. And in it, I found out that I wasn't ready for the business that I wanted.
Tell them that.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for the business that I wanted until God did some things in me. Perfecting my craft, focusing on my turnaround, what am I failing at, and all that other stuff. So I think that a lot of times when I think about starting a business, I think of I got to get myself right and prepare myself to get in or take in what I'm asking God for.
That is so good because I actually had a conversation earlier, and I told them, I said the thing that we don't want to admit to ourselves sometimes is the reason why God hasn't opened that door, the reason why you haven't made that connection, the reason why that opportunity hasn't met you is because you're not ready. Yeah. It's because you're not ready. So you said you had a spirit of entitlement. That's a little foreign to me, Marlon. You know, usually I clown you, but that was actually shocking. How did you overcome that?
I think that you literally have to have a personal relationship with God. And I think that when you ask the Holy Spirit to reveal things to you, He absolutely will. Like, He will absolutely tell you, like, you know, now why do you think you deserve that? And I have a pastor, and it's so funny because I can go to my pastor, I can sit down with him, and I can tell him, you know, this person did this to me, this person did that to me, they didn't have the right blah, blah, blah. And his response would be like, who are you? Who are you?
Right.
And I remember the first time my pastor said that to me, I didn't even know how to take that question in. Because I think that naturally we all have an entitlement spirit. Like, you don't talk to me this way. I correct. And it's like, but who are you? And I think that that's the same thing with even being in business. I had to learn what I wasn't prepared for, and I believe that the Holy Spirit was the only thing that could tell me about me, and I accepted. Yeah.
So you said you had to take some time to perfect your craft. How did you do that?
Critiquing everything that I did. Taking in criticism from previous clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just always working on what's the next thing out there. So in my industry, is graphic design. So I had to see who are the better designers.
Right.
I don't think I'm the best designer,
Mm-hmm.
but learning what they're doing and what's different and what's new, what's happening, staying in front of the next.
Right.
And then once you perfect it, then you're able to get in front of the next before next come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what has been an advantage for you?
What has been an advantage?
Right, because you've seen entrepreneurs. You saw your dad start a company from scratch. You know, there are some opportunities that were available to you because of, you know, your family, which that's for all of us. You know, whoever you're connected to, that's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
What has been an advantage for you?
An advantage. I would have to say the advantage is God putting the right people in my life
Mm-hmm.
and being able to see who was for me and who was against me. I believe that another advantage is that I have
Mm-hmm.
an incredible what do you call it?
Support
Community.
system, village,
Support system.
however you want to
And
call it.
I think the crazy thing is that like I'm very insecure about myself, and it's my village that makes me like believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest advantage I could think of in the world is that the thing that I don't think I'm good at is what's making money and putting things on the table. Yeah.
I can't believe what I'm hearing right now, y'all. Like, this is so foreign to me. I know you guys are looking at my facial expressions while he's talking. Like, why is she looking at him like that? You know, because I know Marlon and I've seen his work and I've seen, you know, the workshops, the classes, the seminars that you do. And I'm always clowning him, y'all, but he knows I support him. I think he does a really great job. And I told him I'm gonna take one of his classes, which I am. I just, you know, you see why I ain't had time. But I think it's great that you can be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because it's going to take a great deal of honesty. I think if you're being unreal with yourself, it's going to show in your craft.
It's going to show in everything. It's going to
Right.
show in the customer service. It's going to show in your customer retention.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show everywhere. I think that I remember one of the big things. I don't even know if this is one of the questions.
No, you're fine.
I remember that one of the things that really changed my business was I had my mentor like go off on me. And I mean, like he laid into me about how I was doing my business. And I remember you know, cutting him off. I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I was like, he doesn't know what all I do and all this stuff. And he doesn't know what it takes and all this stuff. And he was just telling me everything. And then I think like days later, the Holy Spirit, I was asleep. The Holy Spirit said, he's right. He's right. And I started replaying. And sometimes we don't want to hear those. We don't really take a listen to what a person's really saying. We focus on how it was said to us.
Right.
That's another entitlement. Like, I want you to say it to me sweetly. No, sometimes the only way you really hear what somebody's saying is them saying, look, you're failing.
Right.
You gotta get it right, you know.
Uh-huh.
And it's not until somebody is honest, because some people just don't know how to come at you. Some people don't know how to tell you that, you know, I really don't like this,
Right,
that.
right.
And then it took me looking at what was I failing at. And then I restructured my whole business, which I changed the name. So the name was Marlon Michael Concepts, and I changed the name to Forward Solutions Enterprise. And in that change, I started taking and putting people, I started hiring people.
Okay.
And they were hired in the areas that I was failing at. I was failing at being able to stay in touch with my clients. It's hard for me because I'm focused on the work. And so I hired a project manager that's their job to stay in touch with the clients and make sure they know where we're at, this and this. We purchased a project management system so we can make sure that our projects are done on time and that we know where we're at every step of the way with the project. So it was like, it wasn't until somebody was honest with me and me being open to their honesty and really listen to it that I was able to take a step back, revamp my business plan. And the first person I shared it with was my mentor, the one that went off on me. And he was like, now you have something.
Right,
you know?
right.
So I think that it does. You have to get out of yourself and allow people to be honest with you.
You know what? And it takes a great deal of humility. And what stuck out to me just now is you saying, I hired people who could do what I couldn't do. And there are so many people who fail because they refuse to admit, I'm not strong in this area.
Yeah.
You know, that entitlement, that pride, arrogance, them wanting to be the be
Everything.
all.
Yeah, I don't need nobody.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And they don't realize that they're draining themselves. They're pulling themselves down. You know, it's your work becomes tacky.
Yeah.
You know, your rapport with people begins to decline. And it's so interesting because so many people are losing because of that very reason. You can have a great concept. You have a great idea. You know, you could be the right person for the job. You're skilled, you're equipped, you may be educated,
Yeah.
but when it comes to your skill set in particular areas that you're not strong in, you have to be willing to humble yourself and say, you know what, let me ask for help.
Yeah.
Let me get help. And I think that's a great thing that you did that, which is probably why you're so successful right now. You
Still
know.
working.
So what are some rewards and challenges?
I think the reward is like, so I've been in business for 11 years now, and now that I've been in business, I've been full-time in business, going on 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest reward. The biggest reward is being able to see myself come from being laid off, starting a business, having a full-time job, doing my business part-time, switching it up to doing my business full-time and still having a part-time job, to now going full-time and being able to, you know, do what I do. And I remember the first day that I went full-time, I was called out to go to like almost 3 conferences within 2 weeks.
Wow.
As soon as I went full-time. And the reward is, that's the biggest reward, is being able to do what I love and passionate about, and to get up every day and get to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
The challenges is the working in the present while preparing for the future at the same time. Having the company, and then I think it's like I have a team now. I have a team of over 8 people that work for me, and making sure that, like, you know, you got to think about, like, when you're a boss, you have to, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to, you're not only taking care of yourself, but now you're taking care of all these other people. So even when this pandemic took place, I mean, God, you know, I remember laying before God in tears, like, God, what am I going to do?
Right.
I remember in 1 week, we already had contracts to work 6 to 7 conferences. I was already going to be speaking at like 10 different places. And so that was already guaranteed money for the company. Like, we already count that up. And then in 1 week, we're canceling this conference, we're canceling this, we're holding back, we're postponing. And I was like, God, like, that was my bread and butter.
Right,
like,
right.
That's what we've been waiting on. And God came in, and I promise you, the awesome testimony is that right when I was asking God, like, how am I going to pay for what we have now? And my dad stepped foot in my business for the first time. Like, stepped foot into my office, came in, and he was like so excited about everything that he saw. And he ended up dropping like money in the business for equipment that we then came from just doing marketing and advertising to doing a full production.
Right.
4-camera production, being able to, you know, travel with our equipment and all that stuff. And that blessing kept us afloat. And it's like, I think that's the thing, is that, like, even though it's a challenge, I think the challenge is overcome because, like, I just trust God.
Right.
Like,
and I think
the thing is that, like I always keep thinking about the Bible where it says, write the vision, make it plain. And then also we can't expect God to do something for us if we're not going to do the steps to prepare for it.
Right.
I think that is asinine for you to say, God, I want this, but I'm not willing to get up and go to work.
Faith without works.
You know, it's dead.
Yeah.
And so I think so. Even my challenges are blessings. Because it keeps us humble. And I'm not at the place where I've arrived. I'm at the place where I'm still hustling. I'm still trying to figure out what's next, what's going to happen. But at the same time, I'm thankful for where I am and where I've come from.
And you know, no matter what level you're on, it's like God has a way of still showing you need me.
Yeah.
You need me.
Absolutely. I'm not even trying to get to that. I I need you every step of the way, and I think that's cool. I thank God I have an awesome team. That they're just as flexible as I am. They're encouraging.
Right.
They're passionate about what we do.
Right, and that matters.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And so it makes the load a lot easier. But I cannot take me without God is absolutely nothing.
Right.
That means that I'm the nothing, but it's God that made everything.
Come on, see, y'all.
I'm not trying to preach.
He's an entrepreneur, but he's a minister too. He told me don't introduce him that way, but you see, it's just boiling out, it's falling out.
It's real life. It is
right,
real life.
Right.
Man. It's the word coming to life, and when you think about it, there's been steps in my business where I've tried to make the decision myself, and every time that I made the decision without God, I failed at it. But everything, and I have to be guilty because even with my gifts and my talents, it's God that, like, I literally tell you, I will go to sleep, and God in my sleep will show me how to create something that I had no idea what I was going to do, and I get up and it only takes me 15 to 30 minutes to do it. That's not me. It's all God. Right. Yeah. So
I call it a download. I say it all the time. Y'all hear me saying this all the time, that God is constantly downloading. I talked to someone earlier and I said, you have to make yourself available for the download at all times. I said, it's not just going to come in your sleep. It's not just going to come in a car when you're in the grocery store. I said, you don't know when you're going to have a download that's dropped into you. You have to be ready for it. You have to be able to recognize it. And in order to recognize it, it takes prayer.
Yeah.
It takes, a personal relationship that no matter what, I don't care how we're having this conversation, it could be a big concert and everybody can be talking. And if I hear my dad say, Zanya, I've heard his voice because I know him. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, what's crazy about that, Zanya, is that I know it's a download from God. I know that God's giving me, and I still be like, yeah, that's too much for me.
Right. Right.
Clearly, that's just an idea.
Right.
But, I remember the last time that I like that download. I had an idea and I sat on it. I was like, I can't do this. There's no way. And about like 2 months later, somebody else came out with the idea that I had. And I remember I shared the idea with like 4 of my homies. And then when it came out, I said, do y'all remember when I told you about this? They're like, yeah. I was like, ugh. And then there was one download that God gave me, and I actually executed, and it did what it did, And so like I'm more and more like, even though like I know that it's God that's leading, I have to every day push myself to believe and trust even more. Yeah.
I know this is EntrepreKNEWWHAT, but as you were talking, I tell people all the time, of course we know that God's word won't return unto him void. And I think sometimes we get entitled because a word is spoken over our life. And we think that what God spoke the word for, its intent, its purpose, won't be done unless it comes through me. Because it's not going to return unto him void. No, his word won't return to him void. Now, whether you execute it, that's a different thing. He spoke the word to the oil. The oil is going to do what it's supposed to do, whether he do it through you, whether it flows on your life or not. Okay, I ain't going to do all that. But while you were saying that, that's what was going through my head, because I think so many people get caught up in it's about me. No, it's about the word. And if you get in the way, God will push you out the way and go get somebody else. And I'm sorry that happened to you.
No,
Look, I just wanted to say that. My bad.
No, but it was a learning experience. Is that even as a business owner, I'm not even the boss.
Right.
Like God is still in control, and that I have to be obedient.
Right.
In order to be successful.
Right. And we are never above obedience.
Oh no.
Like I said, he continues to show us who he is. Period. That we're nothing without him. So you've become successful in people's idea of success. I mean,
it's different.
But you're operating it. It's the real, because no matter what level we're on, there's always someone watching saying, man, I want to do that. Yeah. Man, I can't wait till I can get to that point. And you're like, man, I can't wait till I get to that point. It's ongoing. But did you ever have a moment where you were like, you know what, I'm going to have a plan B just in case? Or did you say it's all or nothing?
There's absolutely no plan B.
Right.
There's no way it could be a plan B. because then I wouldn't be able to execute Plan A successfully.
Come on.
That's crazy to even think to have a Plan B. It's and literally like I wake up and say, hey, I'm fighting for my life once again. You know? And it means that like whether I sink or swim, I'm in it to the end. And it's like there's no way for me. Yeah, there's no way for me to have a Plan B. Yeah, that's crazy. Don't I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. If you have a Plan B, you might as well give up on Plan A.
Why?
Because it's not going to be successful. It's not going to be successful. Because that means to have a Plan B means that you don't even believe in Plan B.
You're going in, with doubt.
Already with doubt. And I think that entrepreneurship is that thing where there's no roadmap to it. There's there's nothing that I can give you all the tools in the world to do exactly what I've done, and it'll still turn out differently for you. And so because of that is that to have a plan B means that you're already setting yourself up to fail at Plan A.
It's so funny. I started laughing when you said a roadmap because my next question was, is there a blueprint for success?
No. I think the only blueprint to success is keep being consistent and keep going.
So what I tell people all the time, and I've even said it on the show, is that a blueprint is like someone's DNA. And your DNA, everyone's DNA is different. No one's DNA is the same. And so what happens is when we get our blueprint from God himself, who is the strategizer for our life, he's ordering our steps. Like you said, someone can take everything that you're saying right now and do it the exact same way and be unsuccessful.
And get a different result.
Right. And so my thing is, when you think about a blueprint, your process is different from mine. Yeah. Your journey is different from mine. How God makes a way for you is different from someone else's. And so when I ask about a blueprint, we can always give step by steps. We can do research. Someone can share their story. They can tell you how they did it. But it doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily happen that exact way. You may not get the end result that they got. It's going to be different. Yeah. It's going to be different. So here's the final question. The key question that everyone tunes in for. EntrepreKNEWWHAT? What is it that you wish you had known before becoming an entrepreneur?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I probably wish I would have known. I knew that I was going to have to make sacrifices. I wish I would have known how much I was going to have to sacrifice. That's the what I know now is being open to all the sacrifices that I was going to have to make. The things that I had to make the decisions on, I have to miss it. I can't get it. I was telling Zanya earlier today how I had to save. So I didn't take out loans from the bank to do my business. But I had to make extreme sacrifices. I had to put things first. I had to put the business first. And with that, I wish I would have been able to know how to. I did it naturally, but not knowing that I had to plan it. So basically, I was making my family members, my friends, relationships, I was making them sacrifice with me without telling them that I needed them to sacrifice.
Right.
If that makes sense. And so I think that's the if I knew what I knew now, it would be to have those conversations. Because to be truthful, in the 11 years of being in business, I'm just now in a year now understanding those major sacrifices that I had to make that I did not know I was going to have to make. Yeah.
So, I'm listening to you say, you wish you had known the level of sacrifices you had to make. But do you think had you known that you would have still, walked it out? Because, it's almost like God showing us things in parts. And when we testify, we say, had I known what I was going to have to go through, then I probably wouldn't have did it. Do you think that it's a good thing that those things are hidden from us?
Sometimes, I think. Yes, how my voice went up. I'm more so. I think that I could have saved some relationships if I would have known what I didn't know, what I do now. I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story.
Okay, come on, I'm listening.
So I was talking to this young lady. I was right at the tip of like making major sacrifices for the business, and I automatically assumed that she understood.
Right.
And I ended up messing up that relationship where I just like, she was like, I don't feel like I'm important, and so I'm like, no, you are important, but and so it wasn't until like maybe like a year and a half later that whole relationship played back in my mind. And I called her up and I was like, yo, I know where I messed up at. It was this, and she was the best. She was the best. And long story short, while I was pouring out my heart to her, she told me that she was engaged to somebody else. And she was like, but I'm so glad that you came together. And so
I'm glad you finally got it though.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't feel like a good interview is a good interview unless you get something out of it.
Right.
And I think that that was the moment where I started realizing relationships that I messed up because I didn't articulate. So I would have wished that I would have known those sacrifices, because I would have been willing to still do what it is that I do.
Right.
But I would have been able to be open. So now I'm very open. Like even going into a relationship, I let them know where I am, where I stand, and if they can handle it, or what do they need from me, or this is what I need you to say to me. So I'm able to articulate what it is I'm going through, because I can't just assume that someone that's not an entrepreneur is going to understand that.
Right. That man, listen, y'all got so many little nuggets of wisdom, because that little ending part right there, about sacrifice, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge, because you see a lot of people who are successful and they make it to the top and they're lonely.
Yeah.
And it's because they have not mastered the balance of, relationships, personal relationships, business relationships, ministry relationships, whatever it is, because they put their all into one particular pocket of their life, and then while the other ones are suffering.
Yeah.
While the other ones are suffering.
But I also think that people have to understand that if you're not willing to make sacrifices, we're going to lose people.
Right.
And some of those people is good. Like, I think that sometimes some of the reason why I didn't make the money that I was going to make, because God knew I was going to give it away. And God had to remove people that He knew that I was just going to give my money to.
Right.
And so, like, you have to be open to realizing which relationships are to keep and which ones to let go. But I think that in entrepreneurship, if you're not willing to make any sacrifices, if you're not willing to, maybe not go buy that car that you really want,
Right.
I remember that was the biggest thing to me, was that I wanted those nice things, and I wanted to show people that I was making it, and then God said, what you showing them for?
Right.
You're working towards it. And so like me working towards it, I had to make major sacrifices. So in order for me to pull somebody else on salary, I could go get a $60,000 car.
Right.
So that's two people's salaries right there.
Yeah.
So it was like making those sacrifices that I don't have to prove anything to anybody. And that's another thing. You can't prove anything to anybody other than your business actually being successful. And if you're trying to like prove it on other hands that you're making money and all this other stuff, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Kill the pride.
Yeah.
Come on, Marlon know I keep it real. I'm gonna be nice with you guys, but just kill it. Just kill it, because it's not helping you. And not only that, people can see straight through it.
Yeah, you got to bring it under subjection at all times. That like even when I push things, I always say, God, I don't want people to think that it's this easy, because it's not that easy.
Right.
It's sleepless nights. It's getting up early morning, and just understand that just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you set your own hours. My clients set my hours. I work for them, and I think that's the thing, is that pride and that ego will get us messed up every single time.
Right.
And I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I think that's a cool thing. I love what I do so much. And the clients that God sends me, I do my best for them. And those that I don't get at the time, it's just not my time for them.
You know what? And it really does God an injustice. Because if you're too busy trying to show that everything's perfect and I got it all together, then you're really not giving God, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to give God the glory.
Absolutely.
And every single time He'll crush it, He'll bring you right on back down, you know, and you're just like, okay, never mind about that pride, I'll throw it away. But I appreciate you being open and honest and sharing your story, sharing your strategies, sharing your testimony, the highs, lows, rewards, challenges, the breakups. But I want you to take
I prayed to God. I was like, God, if it's your will.
It wasn't His will.
No, because she got married.
No, because she with somebody else. That's okay. Another one is coming. Amen. God's going to send another one. But listen, I want you to say just some words of encouragement to those out there who may be aspiring entrepreneurs or those out there who are already entrepreneurs and they're just like, I need to get to that next level. What can you say to them?
I want to say that if God gave you the idea, if He gave you that push, that unction, that it's something more in you than what you're doing, go after it. Like just know that God has you. Just you got to make sure that you're rooted in God, rooted in who you are, building that community. But just know that, like, I believe that entrepreneurship is something that's birthed in you. You feel it every day. It's a thing that you wake up to. It's a thing that you go to sleep. It's a thing that keeps you up at night. It's that thing that just, you know, that's
passion.
Yeah. And until you go after it, you won't feel like you're going after your purpose. And so I just encourage you, like, if you're thinking that you're that person, or if you're in it and you're already going to keep at it, you know, He didn't bring you this far for you to be left behind. So just keep at it. God's there. It may not, sometimes it doesn't seem like He is, but He's right there, and it's going to work out. It's going to work out.
One more time, tell them your company, how they can reach you, how they can book you, your classes, your workshops. Go ahead. So
the name of my company is Forward Solutions Enterprise. My website is www.forward, F-O-R-W-A-R-D, solutions with an S, .online. And I can be contacted on Facebook, Marlon Bush, Instagram, The Marlon Bush. And
All right, Marlon. Thank you so much for joining me. I mean, I really enjoyed this. I think this is the first serious conversation we've ever had, because we're usually clowning. It's usually just laughter. But I've learned so much, and I mean, it just made me respect you more. Of course, I've always respected you, but I'm just a proud big sister, man. Listen, to all of my entrepreneurs who tune in every week. You see a different entrepreneur every month. This month it is the Marlon Bush. Listen, I want to hear about your companies. I want to hear your journey. I want to hear your process and your story. Someone needs to take a look at your life. You need to be spotlighted. You need to be highlighted. So if that is you, make sure you reach out to me. Send me a DM, and I have all the information below. Send me an email. We want to know your story so you can possibly be highlighted on ZMR Ministries. You know what tomorrow is. It's Wednesday. Join me for another episode of What's the Issue Wednesday. We have another hot topic. We have some phenomenal guests. Don't miss out. You'll be missing a treat. Listen, join us next week. We'll be rebroadcasting Entrepreneur What, featuring my brother, my friend, Marlon Bush, talking about his company. And next month, you'll see somebody else. Thank you for joining me. You have a blessed night. Bye. And if you got your act together, we can make it happen in any kind of weather. Cause I gotta make something that I'm not